Okay, so before I talk about this week's episode, did anyone else watch that preview for next week's episode? Like, the hype right now. Like, yeah, we're seeing iconic characters returning in next week's episode of Dragon Ball Super. I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I mean, it's going to be a filler episode. It's going to be comedy-based, but I'm excited to see next week's episode just because one of the best characters I've seen previously from Akira Toriyama is going to be being popped up in next week's episode of Dragon Ball Super. So, I can't wait. I definitely cannot wait for next week's episode just for that alone. So, with that being said, let's talk about this episode. So this episode was what you could say filler, but I personally enjoyed it. And I know many might write this episode off and say, skip it, don't watch it, it's a piece of shit. I mean, that's how many, look at filler type episodes. But to be honest, it's episodes like these that you really can just enjoy the characters and just, think about, just them chilling and hanging out together. Instead of constantly fighting the main focus of the plot, we have it to where a bunch of characters come together and they're just, having fun, spending time together. And a lot of stuff from the original Dragon Ball was kind of like this, just characters chilling out and having fun. And this is kind of a very similar episode to that. And to be honest with you, filler episodes of Dragon Ball don't really get to me. I mean, they really don't. I mean, there's a lot of anime out there I've seen that has some really bad fucking filler episodes, like just straight up trash. And I actually like Dragon Ball, filler episodes. I do. I've always liked it from Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball, and even this. I've always enjoyed filler episodes because it's just enjoyable to see some of these characters just out of what they normally do from these other serious arcs. And seeing how this episode revolved around bringing King Kai back to life, it was pretty much how Goku, he constantly says, he'll do something for King Kai, but he doesn't. And that's kind of what King Kai was getting upset about. He's like, oh, will you actually put me first, and, will you bring me back? Goku's like, yeah, I'll promise I will bring you back. But then things went haywire, and Goku wasn't able to bring King Kai back at all. Now, the big thing about this is that King Kai, he wants to be brought back because, as we know, he's constantly made fun of in the other world. He's constantly made fun of by the other Kais and stuff, and that's most likely the big reason why he wants to be brought back, because he's like a laughingstock. He's a dead Kai, he's not a living Kai, and so I feel like that's one of the big reasons why he wants to be brought back to life. But on top of that, though, you have to look at it like this. I mean, the most likely being dead does feel different. I mean, probably eating or the way you move or whatever probably feels very different, and I mean, overall, I feel like that's why King Kai wants to be brought back to life. And so leads into the comedy portions of this episode. A bunch of the characters want to have their own wish granted. It's not just, King Kai trying to get his wish and go back and come back to life, and Goku is, gonna bring him back to life, but it was like Android 18 popping up, to seeing, Master Roshi popping up, Oolong popping up, and then also seeing Goten and Trunks popping up, Bulma wants her own wish. I mean, just a bunch of characters want their own wish, and at the end of the day, the only one that got their wish answered was actually Gohan and Pan's, because Pan was actually sick, and then eventually Pan, she for some reason she wasn't healing, and so they had to use Shinron to be able to heal Pan, and she would be completely fine. So I'm kind of curious exactly what that was afflicting Pan. It really makes me kind of curious, because I mean, we know for a fact it's not, probably just a random virus or something. It has to be something pretty damn deadly for, normal doctors or whatever, or any other normal medicine not to be able to handle something like this, and Gohan's freaking out about it. It makes you really wonder what is happening to Pan, and why was she that sick? I mean, was it like the heart virus or something? I mean, I'm just very curious exactly what was going on with Pan, and maybe that eventually might be answered, or maybe not. We'll just see where it goes. But I mean, Pan getting sick like that, it just brings up a question. What's going on with that? But it was an enjoyable moment to see Pan start flying around once she was healed and stuff, and just see her floating. It was just so adorable to see her, and I mean, as we know, GT is not canon. We know for a fact it's not canon. There's many people that really, really dislike GT. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of GT myself, but there is some good moments of GT. Don't get me wrong. I do like some moments of GT. And, I mean, with Pan now kind of being a different character, if you do think about it, Pan is going to definitely be a different character from the Pan we know in, GT. I wonder what direction her character is going to take when she finally does grow up, because, I mean, she's already shown to be very powerful. She flies around and stuff. I mean, the way she's just shown this mysterious power, as we know, half Saiyan, half humans, they tend to be very powerful, and, I mean, look at Gohan, his potential right now. So when you think about it, Pan's probably going to be very powerful with all these hints we constantly are getting about her, and how she just flies around all that. Just, it's so cute. Now, getting into Android 18's wish, Android 18, she wants to wish for something for Krillin, because Krillin is constantly giving stuff to his daughter and also Android 18, and she, you know, wants to do something for him. She wants to be able to get him a gift, and so she goes to the Shinron, like, hey, I want to get a wish and all that, but eventually Bulma pops up and is like, hey, Android 18, let me tell you something. You know, Krillin, what he really wants is just you to be there when he gets home. He wants to see you and his daughter there beside him when he gets home. That's the best present you can offer him. And it really moves Android 18, and she just gets all, you know, happy and all that, and she just runs off back to where her home was. And it's such an adorable moment because, I mean, I really love Krillin and Android 18's relationship, and it's something that's very rare to see that I've liked how Dragon Ball Super's kind of focused on a little bit more, just focusing on some of the relationships of the characters, especially Krillin and 18. It's one of the big points of the Resurrection of Frieza movie that I really enjoyed, seeing how Android 18 was just hanging out with Krillin, giving him a haircut and stuff. I just love that scene so much, just seeing these two characters bond. And seeing Android 18 just, you know, having this little moment of thinking about Krillin, it's just so cute. It's such a cute moment to see her doing something like that for Krillin, and I just like these little scenes that, you know, Dragon Ball Super throws in. I mean, it's stuff that it doesn't seem like it really matters at the end of the day, but it's just something that makes you appreciate the characters and just respect them a little bit more. Now, Master Roshi, the reason why he's there, he wants women, and oh my god, I mean, Bulma popping up and giving this man a bunch of women, I'm skipping that. I'm not even gonna touch that. I'm not even gonna fucking touch that, okay? Just Master Roshi got a bunch of women in this episode, and just like, what the fuck? And then, as we know, panties were on the table and all that. Our, you know, most perverted pig wanted worn panties, and Bulma's like, here you go, here's a briefcase of money, knock that man far off into the distance. Man's gone. So, I mean, everybody kind of got their wish answered for the most part. Poor Emperor Pilaf, though, he kind of got fucked over a little bit, as always. So, the only one that really got a wish at the end of the day was Gohan and Pan. And poor King Kai is still dead as fuck. Kind of sad, but I mean, yeah. Now, besides all of that, let's talk about some of the world building that this episode did. It definitely makes me look more at Xenoverse. And I mentioned this before in my previous, you know, reviews and stuff, like how some of the things when it came to the rifts with Zamos, how it reminded me of some rifts you would see in Xenoverse. And maybe Dragon Ball Super is trying to slightly advertise Xenoverse since it just recently came out, and that's kind of why it looked like very similar to it in some regard. But with this episode, Bulma needs a crystal for the time machine. She's trying to remake a new time machine, and obviously if Beerus finds out about this, well, he'll probably kill you. And Beerus let Bulma off with a slap of the wrist. She was completely fine, and he's killed people for less. A lot less. He's killed planets for a lot less. So Bulma got extremely lucky for being let off after being warned already, don't tamper with time. So many might be upset with Beerus for stopping Bulma for doing what she was doing, but at the end of the day, we gotta remember, Beerus is a god, and he has to do his duties as a god. He cannot let someone just tamper with time right in front of him. So, with him being like that, he was just doing what he needs to do. It was his job, and he has to do it. When he has to destroy a planet, that's just something he has to do. That's just his job as the god of destruction. And so, he's not someone that's always friendly. He's not someone that's always going to be on everybody's side. He does his job. If he needs to destroy a planet, it's fucking dead. It just end the story right there. So Beerus is someone that was doing his job in this episode, and I don't feel like any of us should be really upset with him for destroying the time machine and all that. It's just something he has to do, and that's his job. And I mean, it's just surprising he didn't kill Bulma or go any further than what he did, because we do know he has destroyed people for a lot less. Now let's talk about the crystal that Bulma needed, okay? This crystal, am I the only one that feels like that reminds me of time shards of Dragon Ball Xenoverse? Anyone else think that reminds them of time shards? Like, am I the only one that feels that? Because when I saw that crystal, I'm like, needing the properties of that crystal to be able to travel through time, it reminds me a lot of things from Xenoverse. I'm like, that's weird. It's really weird. And I feel like Dragon Ball Super is trying to kind of make the possibility of Xenoverse canon? And if so, I like that. I really like that. Maybe eventually, I don't know if it's a possibility, but maybe eventually something like Dragon Ball Xenoverse might play a huge part of Dragon Ball Super. Maybe we'll get to see Time Patrollers or, Time Patroller Trunks or something a part of, Dragon Ball Super, which I would welcome that. I would love to see some of the, plot elements of Dragon Ball Xenoverse carry over into Super. And so something like that happens, I would actually enjoy that quite a bit. And I mean, that's just something I'm kind of guessing about right now. With the little crystal that was supposedly going to help Bulma make her machine. Maybe this is just, Dragon Ball Super setting up potential Dragon Ball Xenoverse arc or something. So besides all that, though, the episode was very just comedic. It was just a comedy-based episode. There wasn't really any deeper meaning to it. It was just an episode you sit back, relax, and enjoy. That's about it. I mean, just get yourself a cup of coffee, get yourself a cup of tea, get whatever drink you normally like to drink, and get some food or something. Just sit back and enjoy Dragon Ball Super. I mean, it was a good episode. I mean, many might not like it, but I enjoyed it. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or nights wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.